Welcome back to another episode of the Marathon. I had a total breakthrough last week and I wanted to tell you about it. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with this story. It's so good. This is something that I'm hoping lots of you can relate to, and that me telling you this will help you snap out of how I was feeling and how I was behaving, because it has done that for me. So I thought, why not tell you about it? Okay, so little backstory. I've always been someone who doesn't like to ask for help. Raise your hand if you're like me. Yes, if you don't like to ask for help. I never wanted to be what I would consider a burden. I always thought everyone else is super busy. They've got lots going on. They've got their own families, their own jobs. They've got, you know, their own life, and I shouldn't bother them. And my therapist has been telling me to ask for help for like years, ever since I met her, basically. Becoming a widow 2 years ago, that was like unavoidable. I needed help, and that was like really humbling for me, but also I saw how happy it made people. And again, you know, people would say to me like, I don't know what to do, so helping you is helping me, so thank you for giving me that gift, because I want to do something for you. I want to be able to, you know, I can't take away your pain, I can't change this, but you saying like, hey, can you pick me up these groceries that I've ordered? That's really helpful. Or hey, can you help me with Thomas? Or, you know, I need a friend, I need to talk to someone, or like, let's go out and have fun, whatever it may be. That was the first time that I really truly understood that it's a gift to ask someone for help and allow them to, you know, give you that service. Like, you know, in the 5 love languages, one of them is acts of service, and that's really how some people show their love and their appreciation. The hand that I've been dealt and the things that I have been going through is a lot, and that it is a lot for people, and would be too much to ask someone to like come into my world and sit with me. And that's probably, some of you would disagree, but I'm sure some of you can relate, whether you've, you know, been fired or divorced, or you've lost someone, or you're like me and you're raising a child with special needs as well, or, you know, you're having some mental health stuff. Like, it can be really hard to feel like it's okay to ask for help and receive that help. Like, I just never wanted to be a burden on someone, but I never wanted to put anybody out. I also have a real aversion to like people who play the victim and are always like, woe is me, that kind of thing. So I think maybe I've like overcorrected. I get really uncomfortable and I'm not able to really articulate why I'm so uncomfortable when I'm getting to a place where I think like, it would be really nice if someone would just sit with me while I would cry, or whatever it is, or just talk about stuff. And like, unfortunately, some of the stuff I want to talk about is pretty heavy. I want to talk about Jeremy. We just passed the 2-year anniversary of his passing, so, you know, I was feeling like quite nostalgic and wanting to talk about it. Anyway, so a couple weeks ago, I started to feel really overwhelmed and really touchy and really sensitive and quite closed off. I could feel myself turning away from a few people in my life and just like wanting to basically spare them. I think subconsciously, I don't really know, but I was like, instead of being honest with them, I was like not reaching out, and I was, you know, being busy, or I mean, I'm always busy, but like, you know, wasn't returning their calls or whatever. And I basically felt like, I'm way too sad, no one wants to be around this, and so I'm just gonna spare them. I don't want to be a burden. And this was like all subconsciously happening, you know. It's been a really overwhelming few months in my life, and I've just basically been like head down trying to manage it, and it got to a point where I wasn't really managing it very well. I was kind of just like brushing off a couple of my friends, and not being available, or they'd ask how I was and I would just kind of like not answer and then turn the conversation back to them. That's always been my go-to, and that's the reporter in me. Okay, so I was hurting and not really understanding why I was feeling kind of like an aversion to some people in my life, and so I was just like pushing them away, and one of my friends called me out on it, and I am so appreciative. She is really busy herself and she has a lot going on, and so I didn't want to add to that. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be like, hey, I know you're like really upset and you're really tired, but can you come over and can we like talk about how I'm feeling, and can, you know, I just was like, nope, she's got a lot going on. I'm gonna be a good friend and I'm just going to deal with it myself, and I am going to just not put like unload on her. But in me doing that, it was incredibly hurtful to her. She felt like something was wrong, like I was mad at her, and she called me out on it. And what she said to me shifted everything for me. I know I'm getting to my point. She said, Mare, it is not up to you to decide whether or not I can handle whatever you're going through. That is not your decision. That's up to me. So you can ask me to be there for you, and it's my decision whether or not that's too much to take on, and I will tell you. And I never thought of it that way. She's like, that's not your choice. You don't get to decide if this is too much for me. I get to decide. I was like, wow. It really resonated with me, and I thought about it so much and realized, holy crap, I have been doing this for years, thinking like, oh, my family's too busy, they don't want to deal with this, so I just won't tell them like how bad things are, or they're like too good, you know, like for example, my mom would go to Arizona every winter and she would have an amazing time, and I would be here like really struggling, and she would try to reach out and be like, oh, let's talk, and I'd be like, honestly, like, you're having a great time, you don't want to hear about how terrible things are. But I'm sure she was like, actually I do. You know? So I realized that I have been in that pattern for years. Like, I don't want to be a burden, so I'm not going to tell you, so that I'm not even giving people the chance to show up for me. I'm just blocking it and turning them away without realizing it. And it was so eye-opening to me. I was like, you're right. Thank you. I so appreciate that you like said, listen, I want to be your friend. You're not too much to handle, so let me show up for you. And I was like, okay. And then I realized that I'd been doing that with someone else, you know? They were trying to help me, trying to navigate, trying to be there for me. And I was uncomfortable with that, and I felt like I was too much of a burden and that my life was too heavy. And so instead I was just like turning them away, and that's not okay. So then I said to them too, like, hey, I would really like for you to show up for me. I understand if it's not feasible, you know, you're busy, I get that, but like this weekend's gonna be really hard for me and I could use a friend. And they're like, done, booked off work, I'll be there. And they kept thanking me for allowing me to have them in my space going through such a tough time, because it's a gift to let someone in. You know, if you're going through a tough time and you don't understand it and you just like push them away, or you get angry, or you're like, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, it's so much better and more helpful and like lifts a weight for everybody if you can just be like, you know what, I'm really hurting and I could use a friend. And it's like, oh, all right. So I really wanted to share that with you, and I hope that it resonates with you, and I hope that it shifts in you like it's shifted in me. It is not my choice on whether or not someone is like too busy or has too much of their own stuff to handle what I'm going through. That's up to them. It's up to me to allow them the choice to either show up or turn away. You know, so if I send an email and I say like, hey, I'm really upset, this is what's going on, if they choose not to respond, okay, message received. But maybe they will respond, and maybe they will want to know more about it. Or maybe they'll say like, okay, this week's like super busy for me, but like let's schedule a phone date, or like let me come over, or can you want to come here? Like, it's not your choice to decide whether or not someone's too busy to show up for you. And that was like really eye-opening to me. So I hope that it is to you as well, and you find that maybe freeing. So in the last week, they've both shown up for me, and when people have texted asking how I am, I've been honest. And normally I would not have been, you know, like, how are you? I'm sad. It was the 2-year anniversary of Jeremy passing. I was sad. And at some points I wasn't, you know? Anyway, so that's my like epiphany that has really helped me. I feel that it is common to put up those walls and to block, being like, I'm good, I don't need anybody, like I'm an island, I got this, because we also personally don't want to have to like face what we're going through. But I'm here on the other side to tell you that if you can allow people in, it feels so much better. Even if you don't understand it, you can just say like, I'm really uncomfortable and I'm really struggling, but I'm ready to be vulnerable, and I'm ready to open myself up to you, and I'm ready to accept help, and I'm ready to dive into what's happening. And like, you know, I'm editing the book right now over there on the table, and I talk about that in the book. Like, you know, being open and being vulnerable and allowing yourself to feel the feels and go through it. It's so horrific as you're doing it, but it's so much better on the other side. And then on the flip side of that, if someone's asking you to be there for them, you can show up for them, but then you also have to set your own boundaries. If it's too much or you can't, then it's up to you to be like, I want to be there for you, but I'm going through some stuff too. How can we be there for each other? How can we show up for each other? It's not like, oh, well, you're going through a lot and I'm going through a lot, so we best just like not help each other. Anyway, this was supposed to be a short video. They're never a short video. Thanks for watching. Lace up, subscribe, become a marathoner. Life's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and I'll see you in the next one.